Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. You often hear people say the news is full of lies, but most of the time that's not exactly right. Much of what you see on television or read the New York Times is in fact true in the literal sense.
Yes, welcome back. Tucker Carlson is back. Twitter is a new platform where a lot of people are now creating videos. I don't know if you have seen this. Tucker Carlson announces he's relaunching his show on Twitter with the help of former Fox News show staff and will forgo his 25 million non-compete clause.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. You often hear people say the news is full of lies, but most of the time that's not exactly right. Much of what you see on television or read the New York Times is in fact true in the literal sense. It could pass one of the media's own fact checks. Lawyers would be willing to sign off on it. In fact, they may have. But that doesn't make it true. It's not true. At the most basic level, the news you consume is a lie of the stealthiest and most insidious kind. Facts have been withheld on purpose, along with proportion and perspective. You are being manipulated. How does that work? Let's see. If I tell you that a man has been unjustly arrested for armed robbery, that is not, strictly speaking, a lie. He may have been framed. At this point, there's been no trial, so no one can really say. But if I don't mention the fact that the same man has been arrested for the same crime 6 times before, am I really informing you? No, I'm not. I'm misleading you. And that's what the news media are doing in every story that matters, every day of the week, every week of the year. What's it like to work in a system like that? After more than 30 years in the middle of it, we could tell you stories. The best you can hope for in the news business at this point is the freedom to tell the fullest truth that you can. But there are always limits. And you know that if you bump up against those limits often enough, you will be fired for it. That's not a guess, it's guaranteed. Every person who works in English language media understands that. The rule of what you can't say defines everything. It's filthy, really, and it's utterly corrupting. You can't have a free society if people aren't allowed to say what they think is true. Speech is the fundamental prerequisite for democracy. That's why it's enshrined in the first of our constitutional amendments. Amazingly, as of tonight, there aren't many platforms left that allow free speech. The last big one remaining in the world, the only one, is Twitter, where we are now. Twitter has long served as the place where our national conversation incubates and develops. Twitter is not a partisan site. Everybody's allowed here, and we think that's a good thing. And yet, for the most part, the news that you see analyzed on Twitter comes from media organizations that are themselves thinly disguised propaganda outlets. You see it on cable news, you talk about it on Twitter. The result may feel like a debate, but actually the gatekeepers are still in charge. We think that's a bad system. We know exactly how it works, and we're sick of it. Starting soon, we'll be bringing a new version of the show we've been doing for the last 6.5 years to Twitter. We'll be bringing some other things too, which we'll tell you about. But for now, we're just grateful to be here. Free speech is the main right that you have. Without it, you have no others. See you soon.
Just 3 days ago, I heard and I saw on Twitter that Tucker Carlson was in talks with Elon Musk. I didn't know it would boil to this. I have recently seen some people moving up to Twitter to create videos, especially consecutive. We recently saw Matt Walsh making it clear that his show will now be on Twitter. So Tucker Carlson taking up this decision to allow his show on Twitter is the second person I have seen. We have seen people that come forward to pay him huge sums of money, like we recently saw, but it's like Tucker Carlson is not pleased with any of these people. So relaunching his show on Twitter, it is something we obviously know it will be big. Tucker Carlson has a huge following on Twitter, so taking up this decision can be the best because we have seen what is happening on Twitter. People are allowed to express themselves, to a certain extent. I recently came across an article published by the Daily Mail pertaining to a lawsuit that is being withdrawn. This is just coming few hours ago, where Daily Mail published this article. Former Tucker Carlson producer withdraws suit against Fox News, alleging co- alleging coercion in Dominion testimony, but planned to ravel it in a separate court. The former Fox News producer who claimed network executive called her into line during her deposition in a Dominion system defamation case has withdrawn her suit, but Abiy is now expected to refute the suit in another jurisdiction, according to the New York Times. Fox will be mistaken in viewing our client voluntarily dismissal of her civil conspiracy claim as a retreat from those claims, her attorney told the outlet. Grossberg had also filed a separate lawsuit against longtime host Tucker Carlson, complaining that he inherited a culture of misogynistic and sexist behavior at his show. That suit is still ongoing and may have been involved in Fox News executive surprising decision to fire him. Grossberg first filed the lawsuit against network executive, claiming she was pressured and coached by Fox lawyers to protect the company, and lied in her sworn deposition in a Delaware state court in March. In a statement to DailyMail.com, a spokesperson for Fox News said the assertion that Ms. Grossberg was cool or intimidated into being dishonored during her Dominion deposition is patently false. She also said the network engaged an independent outside counsel to immediately investigate the concern raised by Grossberg in her suit against Carlson. We will continue to vigorously defend Fox against her own meritorious legal claims, which are riddled with false allegations against the network and our employees, the spokeswoman said. In her lawsuit against the network, Grossberg had claimed that Fox News lawyer tried to position her and host Maria to take the blame for the network assertion that Dominion Sister Hub manipulated the 2020 elect. She accused the lawyers of coaching her in a coercive and intimidating matters before her deposition in September in the Dominion case, giving her the impression that she had to avoid mentioning prominent male executive and on-air talent to protect them from blame.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. You often hear people say the news is full of lies.